when civilians are better armed than the military. When a soldier goes into battle, he's going to undergo the most brutal and destructive experience that a person can endure. While many things will go through his mind, he can at least take comfort in the fact that those sending him to war have equipped him with the highest quality weaponry available. Right? Militaries around the world spend billions of dollars on research and development, and it would stand to reason then that the firearms issued to its soldiers are of the highest quality and the most advantageous for the situation. Despite this, there are many occasions where civilian firearms are more suited for military life, are more effective, and are just plain better. Nowadays, the line between civilian and military-issue firearms is much more blurred than many may think. Military-issue guns routinely find their way into the hands of civilians as surplus. In the United States, there are thousands of M1 Garand's, M1 carbines, M1903 Springfields, M1911 pistols, and others that were made for the military but have found their way into the hands of private individuals. The military also looks to the civilian world for inspiration for its firearms. The M4 and the M16, the standard rifle issued to American soldiers, is essentially a fully automatic version of the civilian AR-15. Commonly used military shotguns, such as the Mossberg 500, are popular for self-defense, hunting, and civilian law enforcement. In the US, the only legal distinction between military and civilian firearms is full auto capability. Civilians can own fully automatic firearms, though they must be registered and sourced from a pool of guns made before the Hughes Amendment went into effect in 1986. Other than that, firearms used by the military are often available for civilian purchase, just like any other firearm. Among firearm aficionados, many actually prefer civilian guns, joking that the firearms used by the military are mass-produced by the lowest bidder. This is a bit of hyperbole, but doesn't have a grain of truth to it. Militaries must equip thousands of soldiers with the same standardized weapon on a budget. These guns must match certain specifications, with additions or upgrades to the design requiring years of research and development, and requiring retooling of the entire inventory. As a result, many firearms in use by the military are decades old, and while functional, are outdated by more modern designs. In contrast, the civilian market for guns is limited only by legal restrictions and what the consumer is willing to pay for. New features, quality standards, or modifications can be readily adopted, and civilian guns can range in quality and performance from barely serviceable to near flawless and everything in between. There were some cases historically when civilian guns were not only used by the military but actually preferred over their military counterparts. During the Vietnam War, the American Armed Forces needed snipers because after World War II and the Korean War, the idea of sniping had fallen by the wayside, and the Army and Marine Corps now had to revitalize the concept from scratch. With no dedicated sniper rifles available, they turned to much older firearms to fill the gap. M1 Garand's, specifically the M1D from the Korean War, were pressed into service, as were even older rifles, such as the Springfield M1903, which were used during the First World War. More modern firearms such as the M14 were also utilized, but something else was needed. The newly formed Marine Corps Sniper Program began issuing its soldiers with the Winchester Model 70, a popular civilian hunting rifle. The Model 70 was a bolt-action rifle chambered in .30-06. When coupled with an 8x unertl scope, it was accurate at long ranges and was used to devastating effect. Legendary sniper Carlos Hathcock used a Winchester 70 to rack up his impressive kill count. Eventually, the Marine Corps needed to standardize their sniper rifle, and they once again turned to the civilian market, purchasing hundreds of Remington 700 bolt-action rifles, another popular hunting rifle. Chambered in 7.62 by 51mm, the Remington 700 was redesignated the M40 and used by Marine snipers throughout the war. After Vietnam, the M40 was modified with several different variants. Today, the U.S. Marine Corps still uses variants of the M40 as the primary weapon for long-range accuracy. It's designed based around a gun commonly used for the deer season. These weapons showcase the very best of precision and reliability, and when it comes to building an online website, you need a tool that's just as dependable. That's where today's sponsor, Odoo, comes in. Their all-in-one platform covers everything from sales and accounting to seamless website creation, helping you steer your business with ease. Odoo's website app really stood out to us. Let me show you just how easy it is to use. Let's say I want to create a military hardware store. In just a few clicks, I can drag and drop these blocks, edit this text, adjust the colors, add images, and we're done as quick as that. Everything is fully customizable, and with the ChatGPT integration, I can rephrase or adjust my content in seconds. Even better, Odoo's first app, like the website app, is completely free to use forever. That includes free support and unlimited hosting. Plus, by using our link in the description, you can claim a free custom domain for a full year. Give it a try. We think you'll love it. One of the earliest examples of civilian firearms being superior to military-issue weapons goes back as far as the 18th century. During this era, European nations would issue their soldiers with smoothbore muskets as their primary weapon. These were simple to operate, easy to train a new recruit to wield, and most importantly, inexpensive and simple to manufacture. The downside is its lack of accuracy. At any significant range, the musket would not be able to hit individual targets, and soldiers would fight in tightly packed ranks, delivering volleys of fire, sending a wall of lead at the enemy in the hope that something will hit. During the American Revolution, the rebellious Continental Army primarily equipped itself with smoothbore guns, such as the British land pattern musket, better known as the Brown Bess. Some colonials, however, didn't like the accuracy of the smoothbores and brought their own hunting pieces from home. The Pennsylvania rifle, sometimes incorrectly called the Kentucky long rifle, has its origins in the early 1700s, when German gunsmiths emigrated to the New World, bringing the firearm manufacturing techniques with them. One of these was the inclusion of rifling, or spiral grooves cut into the barrel, which caused a projectile to twist in flight, stabilizing it, vastly increasing the range and accuracy. According to some accounts, the Pennsylvania rifle was accurate up to 300 yards, or about 274 meters, if not further. Impressive even by modern standards. It was used as a civilian hunting weapon used by frontiersmen to put food on the table, and the military-issued smoothbore muskets would be inadequate for that purpose. There were some disadvantages, however. Rifles were much more expensive than muskets and more difficult to produce, so equipping a large formation of troops was not cost-effective. It's also much harder to reload. It could not use pre-made paper cartridges, which greatly increased the rate of fire for a musket. To reload, the powder charge would have to be measured and poured down the barrel, followed by the ball. To ensure the ball gripped the rifling, it would be wrapped in thin leather or oiled cloth to make sure it slid down the barrel. In some cases, a hammer would be needed to ram the ball down far enough to be seated properly. A skilled soldier could fire 1 or 2 rounds per minute with a rifle, about half as fast as a musket. In addition, the rifle was a civilian hunting weapon and could not mount a bayonet, so the rifleman would be vulnerable should the fighting descend into close-quarter battle. In spite of these limitations, riflemen played a decisive role in the American Revolution, turning the tide in several battles, such as Saratoga, the Cowpens, Kings Mountain, and others. The limitations of the civilian hunting piece were far outweighed by the ability to drop an enemy from 3 football fields away. Later in American history, the military found itself vastly outgunned by civilian firearms. Perhaps the most famous battle in U.S. history was the Battle of Little Bighorn, where George Armstrong Custer led his 7th Cavalry Regiment in an ill-fated attack against an encampment of thousands of Lakota Sioux, Cheyenne, and Arapaho tribesmen. In addition to being vastly outnumbered, Custer blundered by splitting his men into different detachments that were too far apart to give mutual support. He may also have had another significant disadvantage. The U.S. cavalry at this time was armed with the trapdoor Springfield carbine single-shot breech loaders. They were also equipped with the Colt single-action revolver, which gave the troops a decent amount of firepower for the era. In contrast, the Native Americans were equipped with a wide array of weapons. Some of these were traditional weapons such as bows, clubs, and tomahawks, but they would also have firearms acquired through trade. Many were percussion-cap muzzle loaders, but a large number of warriors were equipped with Henry, Winchester, Spencer, and other repeater rifles. These weapons were lever-action repeaters, which could hold up to 15 rounds in their internal tube magazine. When loaded, the user could fire, work the lever to reload, and fire again, and can do so while keeping the rifle level and on target, even when attacking on horseback. Custer's defeat was caused by a multitude of factors, including simply being overwhelmed by the rapid rate of fire that civilian firearms gave over the military-issue carbines the cavalry had available to them. To be fair, though, the carbine suffered from a lot of stoppages due to the copper-jacketed ammunition being fired from a hot breech. This was resolved in the future when they changed to using copper cases, although this came a bit late for Custer's decimated troopers. Though the distinction between civilian civilian and military guns is often vague. History shows that firearms available to the general public are often more suited for the task at hand than those used by the military.